1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
What?
I don't know, Jess was just messing with that switch.
Yes.
What's that switch do?
It turns you on.
You know what?
You up.
Never mind.
Okay. Let's try to get off.
Maybe in the last 5 minutes. Okay,
I just said let's try to get off. Okay, let's try to be more high tone.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll do
more NPR.
We'll do the full McNeil error.
Yeah, right. Oh God. Yes, and that is the indescribable and inimitable laugh of Chris Potter.
Hi.
What does ineffable mean?
It also means indescribable.
It's indescribable, yeah. It does, okay.
It means it can't be effed. Although, frankly, I felt effed from the moment I got up this morning.
Yeah. Chris Potter, editor of Pittsburgh City Paper, who joins us every Wednesday, almost, and me, Lynn Cullen. It's March 20th. Is this the first day of spring?
Technically speaking, it is.
Well, I got to tell you, at least it is not as raw as yesterday.
Yeah.
Yesterday felt like it was 20 below. And I guess because there's a certain, your body expects a certain temperature on this date.
Yeah. And it was windy as hell.
Oh.
I had to walk. I took my kid outside. I had to walk him backwards. He rides in a little car. He rides in a little car that you push, and he calls it the beep beep because it has a horn. The beep beep was in reverse the entire walk, so the wind wasn't blowing right in his face.
You could blow away.
Yeah.
My mother had a friend in Boston who was a frail old lady, wonderful woman, probably weighed about 85 pounds. And she was on her daily constitutional and heading home to her lovely little brownstone in wherever, some trendy neighborhood in Boston. And a gust of wind.
Oh, no.
She showed us. She was standing on this spot. A gust of wind picked her up.
Wow.
And took her across the street. Which was very nice.
Maybe it was the spirit of a Boy Scout.
I know, it landed her on her feet.
I shall help you, old lady.
Jeez.
Yeah. It's probably never going to happen to you. Just you're tall.
No, and I'm a formidable physically.
Yes.
Right.
I didn't mean any insult. I just meant you are a rock. You are like a tree that is planted by the waters, as they say in the gospel song.
And I shall not be moved. No, but she needed rocks in her pockets, and that's what I told her. I said,
ballast.
Marcia, just put rocks in your pocket.
Right.
Well, yeah.
That could be a real business opportunity. Just bags of ballast for old people. Just just cut it away if the wind's blowing you the way you want to go.
All right, can we sober up?
Sure. Oh yeah. Oh man, that sounds like some reading today.
Actually, I'm a little. I was a little late, but it doesn't matter. Okay, where do we? Let's start. I did not talk yesterday about the Pittsburgh Police Department, even though there was new revelation.
How do you avoid it at this point?
I know. Well, it was because my sister was on. She doesn't know from nothing about the Pittsburgh Police Department, and I thought we'd all get a break as a result, so we didn't.
Right.
Okay. Now, this stuff is just going to... Here's what I don't get. If the police know that they are under extraordinary scrutiny from the acting chief down to the lowliest patrol officer. Wouldn't they be minding their P's and Q's? What kind of out of control institution is this?
Yeah,
I'm serious.
Yeah. It's funny. There was a story on KDKA last night, TV, about a guy, not the guy who everybody's seen
Rendy.
not get tased by, the detective, but some other guy who said he was basically accosted by cops, and there were photos of his face all messed up and everything. And I was looking at it, and I thought, a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, I would have looked at that and just said, here's some drunk jerk on St. Patrick's Day who got out of hand, and now he's got a little police-inflicted hangover, probably because of his own fault being a drunk, obnoxious jerk. And now you just think, I don't know anymore.
No. I was saying to somebody last night, okay, let's just say you were dropped into that situation at that pub.
Yeah.
And we took identifying garments off the cop and off, there's these people scream. I said, which person would you think was the one disrupting the establishment? Which one was the loudest, the most profane, the most out of control?
Yeah.
It was the cop.
Yeah, it certainly looked that way, yeah. And what the police will tell you is, you didn't see what happened just before then.
Come on.
Which,
it doesn't
fair
matter.
enough, we didn't see what happened before then. But, what I did see was a guy walking away, maybe shouting something kind of in an over-the-shoulder kind of way, which, look, I used to live on the South Side. I have seen many an obnoxious drunk, and I have sort of ridden with that stuff because you have to. And it seems to me that your average police officer ought to be about de-escalating situations. Yeah,
exactly right, and would be thick-skinned. And I think the word that we're looking for here is professional.
Yeah.
What the hell? It's as if we have deputized a bunch of thugs.
It does stuff like that does not look good. And the issue, there's this other issue too, because at the same time that's going on, we've got this federal court proceeding taking place where there was a guy, a 30-year-old guy who's driving his Porsche, vintage Porsche, and was basically accosted by another officer who has a long history of these sort of disciplinary.
He seems to like to choke
problems.
people.
Yeah, and so there's this question. I mean, you get a handful of officers. We a year or two back reported on another guy, Garrett Brown, who also similarly had some interactions with civilians off duty, which scared the hell out of these folks, and he was later let go. But again, you have these guys with 2-3 dozen complaints in their history, not all of them upheld, but enough of them that you kind of wonder what's going on here. And what the FOP will say is, well, these are the most active officers, and the officers who are the most active in terms of carrying out arrests are the ones who get the most complaints. And there's some truth to that. I am quite sure. I have no doubt about that. Right. But one of the things when we report on Garrett Brown and some of our other reporting, there was an audit, a performance audit of the department done back in 1996 by the city controller, then Tom Flaherty, who said, we looked and what we found is about 4% of officers on this force, 4%, are responsible for 1/3 of the complaints filed against the police. Now, is every one of those cops necessarily the most active officer? Is it not possible that there are other officers who are also racking up lots of arrests without that kind of?
But you got to figure in that little pool must be the ones that you've got.
It's certainly ones that you would want to take a closer look at.
Yeah, exactly.
And it seems that it's very difficult for that to happen, either because of a lack of zeal on the part of management or because the difficulty of arbitration and some of the contract provisions. It's what we found today, both in this story on the South Side.
I know what you're going to say.
Go ahead.
Are you going to say this about the expungement of?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, it's beyond belief. The city contractually agreed to this. Let's say you got a cop and he's done all manner of horrific things, unbecoming an officer, and almost been terminated and put on suspension and blah, 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 blah. There's a time limit. Do you remember what it was? I mean, if he keeps his nose clean for, 4, 5 years, 6 years, it gets expunged. So
the record, it's still on his record that he had this thing, but you cannot use the priors. If he has a subsequent disciplinary issue, you can't take that into account.
Well, I find that, I just want to say that as a resident of the city of Pittsburgh, I take great offense at the leadership of the city signing off on a contract like that. And I'm a union supporter.
Right.
But come on. Are you going to have control or are you not going to have control?
Yeah.
Apparently we're not.
Yeah. And again, to go back to the point, this audit that I talked about was 1996. That wasn't Luke Ravenstahl. That was Tom Murphy. And that was Chief Robert McNeely, who was in court yesterday in a videotaped deposition talking about, he and his wife talking about Nate Harper and how he didn't do a bang-up enough job. This is bigger.
Yeah.
This is bigger. This isn't just people want to beat up on Luke Ravenstahl. This is a bigger issue than Luke Ravenstahl.
No, it absolutely is. Here's what I want to know. I mean, this Officer Rendy, the one who didn't tase the guy but acted...
was waving the taser around.
It was just,
anybody want some? It was that kind of thing.
I mean, just outrageously unprofessional conduct. I get this from the paper. According to a report from the Office of Municipal Investigations in 1999, this same Officer Rendy returned to the home of a woman who had called 911 to report a domestic disturbance and engaged in a sex act with her after his shift. The woman was drunk and depressed, according to a police.
Yep.
What? So you call the cops, Officer Rendy comes, and then...
Comes back.
And he's quoted somewhere else as feeling sorry for himself that what? He said a 3-minute, what did he say?
That's the worst part.
What did he say?
He said a 3-minute has cost me all this.
No,
a 3-minute interlude or something like that. I can't remember what exact words.
Well, I think it wasn't interlude. It was more like, a 3-minute,
That's the part that I'm not sure I would have admitted to if I were him. It was just 3 minutes.
Jeez. Okay.
Sorry.
So to me, I'm sorry, I'm running the police department. If an officer were to have done that officer to me is gone.
Well, but I think the issue was, if I recall correctly, I think the issue there was a question again under the terms of the contract and of how an arbitrator ruled whether they could. What they gave him essentially was they put him on kind of a last warning kind of thing. If you mess up again, you're gone. But I think there was an issue about whether they could oust him.
Okay, and here's part of why he wasn't ousted. A half dozen years later, after the 3-minute interlude with the depressed woman who had called the police not to be sexually assaulted, but in fact, for help. A half dozen years later, Commander Catherine McNeely claimed he was calling off work to take side jobs because he was making more money. Then she was concerned because she saw there was no she had sent this up to Nate Harper. Then she saw there was no discipline of Rendy. So she inquired. And here it is, pure Pittsburgh. That's when City Operations Director Dennis Regan, who lived with the detective's sister. Okay, so Regan, and what's his position now? Is that
none? I mean, he was at that point. I think he was operations director. Isn't he
still around, or is that another Regan?
I think he's not still around.
I don't know about that.
I think he's not.
Okay. Okay, so here is the city operations director who is shacked up with Rendy's sister. And he told the commander, just drop this. Okay? Drop it. It's dropped. What?
I want to say two things about that because first of all, you used the word that the woman was sexually assated, and I mean,
it might have been consensual.
It was. My understanding was absolutely consensual. He did not go back there and attack her. But this gets back to my earlier point. The thing about because this thing that happened with her what her allegation was is that the detective skipped work to do these details on something like 36 occasions, and she wanted to discipline him, and Regan stepped in. This became part of another federal court proceeding back in 2006, 2007, and this gets to this point. It's bigger than any one person, because what came up there was she wanted to discipline him, but the city called up in its defense their labor law attorney, who was Hugh McGough, who you may know, or some of your listeners may do, who's an attorney who's now doing the district justice out in Squirrel Hill. Hugh was called to testify, and what he said was the problem is that the statute of limitations on that had also expired, and I told her, you can't bring this forward. You can't bring this up for discipline now, because these things are old, and it's going to sound like you're trying to use stuff that's past this statute of limitations to punish him now for stuff that he had done before. And it's going to raise the question of why didn't the city take the discipline in a timely fashion. And so again, it goes back to this broader sort of issue that goes past, not to defend any Regan and anything he did, because there's a lot of other stuff came up at that hearing that was worrisome. But this is bigger than any one person. This is contractual, and it's big.
It's just that it seems like with this police story, this one and the one the day before and the day before that and the day before that, as you read this disgusting stuff, it's so often incestuous.
Yes.
There's so often, oh, well, she was married to him who was this and that, and they were girl living with blah and blah, and this is, I think, a big part of the problem.
Yeah, and let's recall there's a whole other federal case out there which speaks to this a little bit. The ACLU, you may remember, is suing on behalf of some black officers who say that favoritism was shown to white candidates throughout the process of hiring. And we're talking stuff like, helping them out on civil service exams,
right,
cheering them on as they do their physical fitness stuff, telling them, okay, you need to make a 12-minute time and you're at 8 minutes, go, go, go. That kind of thing that was extended to white candidates that wasn't extended to black candidates.
Because they're family.
Again, this suggests that this does kind of speak to this concern that that it is a very close-knit community and not necessarily always in a good way. Yeah, I mean, there are problems. There are problems.
I mean, what's next?
I mean, that's... You don't know. That's the thing. You just every day there's some other story. Every day. There's some other story about this department coming out.
Okay.
And I feel bad because the other thing we see too, there's stories about these cops being the one who was shot a few days ago. You just feel terrible for the ones who are good cops, because there just seems like the department has no way of discerning which are the ones who are good and which aren't.
Well, let me just say this to that, though. Getting shot doesn't necessarily make you a good cop.
No, but I mean, certainly these guys, it's a reminder that they put themselves on the line every day, and we should respect that as...
Yes, but see, that's used to excuse
any
the
bad ones,
criticism.
Exactly. I agree with that.
Anytime
I agree that's what happens.
you say boo about this crap,
right.
You're...
Right. But that's the thing. That's
cop hater.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, and that's the unfortunate part.
Okay, now, back. Let's get to the mayor here a little bit. So Luke, he can't. So he sees the Rendy tape.
Yeah.
And he decides to take charge. And this is unfortunate because here he's quoted as saying, regardless of whether it went off or not.
The taser.
He clearly engaged the individual and went out of his way 20 or 30 yards down the street to go after this individual. If the taser didn't go off, clearly he intended for it to go off. Excuse me. I'm no defense attorney, but there's no way that Luke Ravenstahl or me or you or anybody else knows what the intent of Officer Rendy was.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a stupid thing to say. And in fact, being so quick to want to look like, okay, I'm in charge, I've had enough. he ends up making himself look stupid again.
He's burned himself this way before. Folks may remember there was a situation with a Sergeant Eugene Hlavic, who had been promoted to sergeant, even though there were some allegations of domestic abuse against him. He gets promoted. A year or two later, he's again charged with domestic violence. The mayor fires him. The mayor says, "We've looked into this with OMI. We've answered all the questions. He needs to be fired." In a subsequent court proceeding, he is found not guilty. He is then reinstated to the department. I think in that case, there's some reason to think too. I think it was in the Tribune Review had something that when the mayor did not get the FOP endorsement back in 2009, I believe it was, and the mayor's explanation for that is because I have a lot of enemies there, and I think he named Frank Rendy by name, so I think there's going to be some suspicion that he may have been motivated by a personal animus. That's going to be the accusation, I'm sure, anyway. But he does seem in these weird cases where there is this sort of like defensiveness that he does kind of. Look, I mean, I'm not going to blame him for having a reaction to that video. We all did. And I'm sure to a large extent his reaction was the same as yours and mine. It looked like that cop chased that guy down.
The danger, though, of jumping to
conclusions, especially if you're the guy who's making the decisions.
He needs to be, circumspect. Anyway, so you say to me when you sat down that the selfsame mayor is going to have a news conference, right?
Yeah, at 11:30 this morning scheduled. And
that we didn't set that clock, right?
Okay. To discuss the status, the release said something like, to discuss the status of a nonprofit in the city of Pittsburgh and its impact on the city.
Of a nonprofit?
It just says a nonprofit. The Tribune Review is saying that it's going to be UPMC. That the mayor is likely to challenge the tax-exempt status of UPMC.
Okay. Well, that'd be a very popular move from my point of view, but
from a lot of people.
Yeah, right. But something tells me the deck is stacked in UPMC's favor.
It would be hard. You can imagine UPMC has considerable resources to defend itself with.
And my understanding is, do you know, I thought I heard a little thing about one of the Rudiak.
Yes.
Was talking about a Senate bill.
Senate Bill 4.
This is
That's right.
In Harrisburg that would.
Essentially it would. You may recall that the state Supreme Court a year or two ago basically issued a ruling involving, I think it was a religiously affiliated summer camp, that basically threw into doubt the state law that has governed whether nonprofits get an exemption or not. And that state law, which was first put forward by Melissa Hart, we all have fond memories of.
Melissa.
That law made it very hard.
Hart.
That law made it very hard to challenge tax exempt status. So what the state, what this state Senate Bill 4 would do is essentially return us to that status quo, and again sort of forestall the possibility of doing challenges like the mayor may be announcing today.
Okay, so that's what I thought. So there is currently in Harrisburg, and you know who controls Harrisburg, and they're forever doing the wrong thing. This thing looks like it's probably a pretty clear shot.
Yeah, I mean the concern is that it's been moved. Doesn't it have to go to a
referendum?
Yeah, that's right. It has to go through two successive.
This is the second one, I think.
No, I think it came up before and just idled. So I think it has to go through this, then another, and then it would be subject to a referendum.
Okay, fine. But make no mistake about it. This is, I'll tell you, UPMC and its might is behind this Senate bill because it would prevent the mayor from doing what we're assuming he's going to be doing, which is challenging their ability to simply not pay their fair share in this city.
Yeah. And that's and imagine if it does, even if it goes to a referendum, imagine the ads we're going to see.
Oh God.
I mean, I already dread it. I already dread the ads.
UPMC.
This is not a for-profit corporation.
This is not. Here, let us parade cancerous children before your eyes.
Yep, they'll get some nuns. They'll have crying nuns.
They are despicable. They are despicable. I'm not talking about their employees.
How can you say that they provide life-changing medicine?
I am not talking, and they've done good things for the doctors, their employees, and the nurses there have done wonderful things for me and my son. And I have received.
This is the part they're going to take and put in an ad.
But they are despicable at the top. And a fish rots from its head. We're taking a break. The stench. I can barely even talk about them without getting sick. Jerks.
Go to commercial.
Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com or call Lynn at 412-316-3381. Lynn Cullen Live will return in a moment.
Pittsburgh City Paper's annual music guide is available now. Pick up one today for an inside look at Pittsburgh's vibrant music scene, plus Madam Butterfly, Celtic Woman, and Mac Miller. Pittsburgh City Paper available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania and on the web at pghcitypaper.com and on your smartphone at citypapermobile.com.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we've got a pep talk that can motivate you.
Sometimes things don't always turn out the way you want them to.
You can improve your future. Now get your game face on and take the first step towards a better life. Hurry up. Don't make me repeat myself.
Whatever level of motivation you need, we've got a pep talk for you. Call 1-877-38-YOUR-GED or visit yourged.org for your pep talk and for free classes in your area. GED is a registered trademark of the American Council on Education. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com.
All right, I have regained my composure. Meanwhile, Jess is Googling, does a fish indeed rot from its...
Like really rot? Is it true? Maybe if readers out there, listeners out there know.
You would think it would rot from the middle, because I'm thinking that's where the viscera are, and it wouldn't. The tail, no,
or maybe from the end, because
it's
the tail is the thinnest part, so you would think that would be the part.
No,
that would
but if you were, rot. How does it? No, I'm thinking it would be like the gut.
Yeah. Okay. So good.
But it just doesn't sound. A fish rots from its gut first. That doesn't say anything.
Yeah, really.
That's of no use to us.
Yes, right. So, gosh darn it, let's...
Okay, think of another adage about fish.
I can.
That I can too. Is it Ben Franklin?
Oh, I don't know.
I think it
What's
is.
yours?
I'm not exactly sure of the exact wording, but a fish and guests.
And its money are soon parted? No.
No. Is it a fish and guests?
Oh, yes. I know, yeah.
Like stink after 3 days or something like that. Something like that.
The one I'm thinking of was less an adage than a sort of metaphor that...
teach a man
to fish, and you'll feed him for life. The one I was thinking of was a metaphor that a county councilor, Rich Oldlaws, who was a politico from late politico for longstanding from the Mon Valley, used to always say, "This thing stinks like a mackerel in the moonlight." Well, see, I guess a mackerel in the moonlight looks all silvery and pretty when it's washed up on the beach, but then you get close to it
and it stinks.
I always like that.
Mackerel.
This is like they always say about a Billy didn't like. This thing stinks like a mackerel in the moonlight. It looks good, but we need more Mon Valley politicians. They had a poetry all there.
Pittsburgh politicians used to. When I first came here 30 years ago, God, was it wonderful.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, it was clownish, but wonderful.
So you'll be voting for Jack Wagner for mayor then, because he's old school and
he was
back
part
to
of
those
that.
days.
Yeah,
he was part of that scene.
The clown scene, yeah. But now he seems a sober citizen. Did I tell you I just cracked up laughing when I saw him on TV the day he, I guess, announced, and he was saying, the people of the city need fresh ideas and new blood. And I'm thinking, wait, Jack, that is not a thing. You're not supposed to say that. That doesn't work for you, buddy. You've been around twice as long as anybody else in the race.
We actually...
Okay, a fish does rot from the head?
From the gut.
From the gut! Hey!
Really long time.
Yeah, okay, sure. That's
there you go. Good.
Well, just, you see? Is that deductive reasoning?
I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
But it was good reason.
I did. I figured that out.
Yeah, we actually have a piece that I wrote just to plug the paper about the mayor's race as it shapes up based on the early field and who the candidates are out there. And they had their first debate this past Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
So we don't have to talk about it. I just thought I'd plug it.
Thank you very much. I don't want to talk about it.
Very good. Moving along.
Ferlo dropped out. I told you he was just... Why did he decide he didn't have to bother being the spoiler? What was that about?
I don't know. I mean, I think sometimes people get into races hoping that support will materialize.
And it didn't.
And it seems that did not happen.
All right, fine. So who are you putting your money on?
I mean, as this piece says, the two front runners right now very obviously are Peduto and Wagner. And, Wagner, I think to a lot of people seems like he'd be a juggernaut because he's got a famous name and all that stuff.
Right.
But I went back and looked at of course, he ran for governor in 2010, people will recall. And I just went back and kind of looked at how he shaped up just in the Pittsburgh.
He didn't do that
race.
well?
He didn't. He did well in the South Hills, as you'd expect, because that's where his family's base has always been. But he trailed Dan Honorado, who, let's remember, not a wildly popular guy in his own right, and lost Allegheny County in the general. He trailed Honorado in the north, which of course is Honorado's base, but then also in the east. So outside of the South, he did not do well, and in a lot of the black wards, especially, he was not terribly impressive. He actually finished third in a lot of those wards, behind State Senator Anthony Williams, who most people haven't heard of. He's a black state senator from Philadelphia.
Right.
So, if you're looking at a guy now, the dynamics of this race, there are 6 candidates at the moment, and you don't necessarily need to take the whole city or anything even close to it. This race is a lot like the 1989 contest, where there were 5 Democrats, all of whom were reputable candidates with their own base. You had the city controller, the county controller, the future mayor, Tom Murphy, and Sophie Masloff, the incumbent. And Masloff won, I think, with 29%.
Yeah, I know. Amazing.
So it is.
That
anybody
should be a runoff. This is crazy that somebody can become mayor with like 1/5 of the. I mean, first of all, who votes? Nobody. The 1/5 of registered voters vote, and then 1/5 of the 1/5 decide who runs the city.
Yeah, it is
That's
crazy.
That's insane.
It is crazy.
PJ's come up with a few more fish out of water.
Sure.
And shooting fish in a barrel.
Yep. I still like mackerel in the moonlight.
Well, because it has that alliterative
It's
quality.
alliterative, and it has a certain rhythm to it. Mackerel in the moonlight. And it sounds romantic a little bit. You are my mackerel in the moonlight, honey. Oh, yep.
Oh, gosh. I don't know. I got some letters here, but
Letters?
Letters. Do you remember this? Letters. We get letters. We get lots and lots of letters.
I have heard that, but I can't place it. What is that?
You're both too young.
Oh, well.
I'm not sure. I'm going to say it was a singer's variety show on television in the 50s, and it would be...
No, it wasn't Lawrence Welk.
No, it wasn't Lawrence Welk, that
That's
old
the only
molester. Haven't you heard the Lawrence Welk story?
No.
I was molested by Lawrence Welk.
You weren't.
I was too.
How so?
What do you mean, how
What did he
so?
do?
Look,
What
I'm
happened?
right away. Wait, I just want to go back to letters. We get letters. We get lots and lots of letters. I'm going to say it was either Perry Como or Dinah Shore.
Huh.
Somebody, let me know. Okay. You never heard how I got molested by friggin' Lawrence friggin' Welk?
No.
Dolphins and Lawrence Welk.
No.
Dolphins and Lawrence Welk. And in both cases, this could have been on tape. It was on tape, but I mean, you couldn't see because he was smart enough, to keep his hands below the...
Oh, I see. He actually did this on camera.
Well, I was interviewing him.
Yes.
We were sitting on a couch in his hotel room.
This is here in Pittsburgh?
No, Madison, Wisconsin. Okay. When I was more molestable. When I was... I was a svelte, lovely, raven-haired goddess of about 28 years. Okay. And Lawrence took one look at me, and obviously... He forgot the champagne lady for a moment. And the Lennon sisters sort of drifted into the back of his memory. And he was performing that evening at, this arena there. It's Perry Como!
I was just going to tell you that.
We get letters. Oh, we get stacks and stacks of letters. Thank you, Noreen. Okay, so. God, that sounded like a
lascivious. I was going to say, is that the sound he was making?
Yeah, Lawrence. So, okay. So he says to me at one point, I wish I could do his voice. So, are you coming to the show tonight? And I said, no.
I'm 28 years old.
I'm sorry. I haven't can't. He said, I want you to come to the show tonight. And as he's saying this, I won't do it to you. His hand is on my thigh, and it's, I want you to come. He said, I will do for you what women clamor to have done. He said, I will dance with you.
Oh. I thought you were going to say something else.
No, it was something like, I will be the champagne lady of the night. Is there someone calling?
Yes.
It's gonna
Hello?
Hey, Lynn, it's Mike in Philadelphia.
Oh, Mike in Philadelphia. How are you?
Good. Hey, just so you know, that letters, we get letters, Letterman used that for years when he did the viewer mail.
Did he?
That may be where I heard it from.
In his NBC days. He did that for years.
Yeah, when he was funny. Right.
When he was funny.
And I was traumatized by Lawrence Welk for years at my grandmother's house.
Who the hell was it?
We all were.
Everybody at our grandparents' houses were
Jess liked him.
traumatized.
It turns out Jess here liked Lawrence Welk.
Believe me, if you had spent any time with him,
have you seen the Saturday Night Live bits on Lawrence Welk?
No.
With the woman with the small hands?
Check them out. YouTube them. When Kristen Wiig was still there, they did a bit on Lawrence Welk that was hilarious. But I think people my age got it, but I don't think people in their 20s have even any idea who Lawrence Welk is.
Right. Although, figure that this says something about Pittsburgh. When QED, public television here, wants to raise money,
they put on
Lawrence Welk.
It's here in Philadelphia. I come across it every now and then when scrolling through the guide.
Yeah.
I see it, and God, it looks, every now and then I'll turn it on. It's like, I don't know if you have this experience, but there's certain things that I hate to this day.
Yes.
Such as Lawrence Welk. I cannot hear the theme song for 60 minutes, that ticking.
Really?
And Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom, I cannot stomach because they were all on Sunday nights, which meant I had to go back to school the next day.
Yeah, that's funny.
So they suffered by
that's
virtue
why I
of
hated
the
them.
fact that
And on the flip side, I always have a soft spot in my heart for The Price is Right because it means you were either
home from school,
summertime, or you were off school because you were watching.
That is funny.
That yodeling song, the yodeling song. And then a little guy going up the thing. That's a 70s. That may be a 70s thing. I don't know.
It's still on. They still
use that? They still use the little yodeler? The little fixed...
Who does The Price is Right now? Drew
Carey, and he's awesome. He's great.
Is he good? Okay, that's good to know.
He went for the big bucks, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he lost about 150 pounds as well.
Oh.
Good for him.
Thanks for the call, man.
All right. Hey, thanks, Mike.
All right, then we'll see you.
Bye. No. So he was disgusting. I kept I was shoving his hand away. No.
That's terrible.
And
I mean, I'm kind of laughing because
but he was really sort of, you got to come, I will dance with you. I guess he did that at each show. He would grab some woman and twirl her around. And he was saying he would do it for me. And you can imagine what he had in mind.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. That's actually, we were laughing about it sort of, and it's a lot of years, but
I just want to say,
awful,
this is why, I don't know. This is, again, in the era when sexual harassment didn't exist.
Yeah.
That was just a guy doing what guys did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I, as a young lovely, was supposed to deal with it.
Yeah.
And I did.
Yeah.
And so I sometimes have I have to admit, I think women today are a bunch of friggin' wimps. They cry, "Oh, I've been sexually harassed." text right immediately for any reason. I mean, come on, suck it up. Potter doesn't know what to say. Potter is
I'm just worried you're going to start feeling me up now if that's your attitude. I'm just, you know what? I realize this ruins the shot, but I'm getting out of frame here.
Oh, he looked at me. He touched me on the shoulder. Ugh! I felt violated.
But that was terrible. But that was what happened to you. Like that obviously was like a bad.
I'll tell you what real sexual harassment is, because that was
right. Yes.
Okay, and I'll tell you what else was.
Okay.
My first day in the newsroom at WISC Television in Madison, Wisconsin, the first woman to be hired who wasn't doing a cooking show.
Right.
Right. I sit down at my desk. I walk in. All the guys are there, and they're all looking at me.
Yeah.
Everyone. I was the only female. I walk in. I was appointed this big iron gray desk. I sit down, and I'm just doing my thing. And at some point, I pull out the drawer.
Uh-oh. I don't even want to guess.
You don't?
Go ahead.
Unbelievable. A used condom.
Oh, man. You are kidding me.
No, I'm not kidding you. This
Jesus.
is welcome to a woman's world when she's on the, breaking down the barriers. 1973. A used condom.
Wow.
What do I do?
Make him eat it.
Jess's answer for those who couldn't hear was make them eat it, which I'm not. How exactly was Lynn supposed to do that? I guess is the question, Jess. You want to get on here?
Let me tell you, I was right across from the sports guy who played minor league ball with Pete Rose.
My first subject, my suspect, right there.
That you think? But he was a sweet guy.
Okay,
I actually liked him the best.
Okay.
Okay. So what did I do? I shut the door. I didn't react.
Didn't give them the response satisfaction.
No, and I just kept. And that's how women handled those things. Now you didn't cry. You didn't go to anybody. You didn't say, "Well, you guys," because you had to make it in this.
Yeah,
locker
but isn't
room.
the whole point that you shouldn't have to? Like, isn't that the whole point?
Well, it became the whole point, but at that period, there was no. What were you going to do?
Yeah.
I didn't even tell my husband. I thought he'd, get
mad.
nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't tell him.
Wow.
Then at the Christmas party later that year.
It's all coming out now.
Yeah, at the Christmas party, I was the union rep. I had become the union rep there.
That's pretty quick work.
Well, no one else wanted it. And at the drunken general manager.
Oh, geez, here we go.
Comes up to me and he grabs me, pulls me out of my chair and says, "Hey, let's show them how management and labor get."
Oh, man.
See, you can't believe this stuff,
That's
right?
amazing. Yeah, it's astounding. Let's show them how labor management.
It's nothing. It's nothing. It was constant. And any woman of my age
has a story like that,
found herself the first in some all-male bastion, will have equally horrific stories that will go on and on for years and years and years and years. When did sexual harassment become a crime?
I don't know.
Or a thing?
Yeah.
When did it even become a thing?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it always has been.
And think of the resistance
to
the very idea that it was
been.
something. Right, right. No, so I don't know. And that's why okay. Oh, I'm having flashbacks.
Let's go to commercial.
Yes.
So the little lady here can pull herself together.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen live after this.
Go to BergBargains.com for great deals on gift cards from your favorite local restaurants, museums, and shows. This week only, get discounts up to 50% for the Symphony, Opera, and City Theater. BergBargains.com, Pittsburgh's best bargains. BergBargains.com.
I didn't know about chronic obstructive pulmonary disease until I took the wheel and lent my support to Drive for COPD. Help Americans take action against this leading cause of death by logging on to driveforcopd.org to learn more. I'm Nancy Cartwright, the voice of Bart Simpson, and I drive for COPD.
Have a question or an opinion? Call Lynn Cullen at 412-316-3381 or email lynn at pghcitypaper.com. Now, more with Lynn Cullen Live.
You want more? I'll give you more. I'll give you more. We have here an email with
which I almost don't want to read because the subject headline is so great.
The subject line is "Sex in Wisconsin," and it's from a certain Thomas Sokolowski.
Welcome back.
Oops, that's the wrong one.
Yep.
Why did it do that?
I think that's
I just returned from 2 weeks in Sin City, and what do I hear this morning? But your tawdry episode with Mr. Welk. Oh, Ninu, he says, using my family nickname. You are a mighty temptress. Temptress. I'll tell you, I was. Oh, the stories I could tell.
Sex in Wisconsin. Is the idea there that...
Well, you shut up right now.
I don't know. It sounds like the working title to the next Bret Easton Ellis novel or something. From American Psycho to Sex in Wisconsin.
Oh, man. Did you ever hear of a book called Wisconsin Death Trip?
Yes.
Fascinating book. Whoa. Now, that baby came out, I think, probably in the 60s or 70s. And what it was a journalistic compilation of these bizarre murders and other creepy crimes that occurred, like, at the turn of the century. And I'm talking about
the 19th.
Into the 1900s in Wisconsin. And they're complete with news articles, pictures. You cannot believe the horror and the lunacy and the insanity and the craziness. And I think, and
remember, for Republicans, these were the good old days. Family values, folks.
And it was just Wisconsin. I mean, you got to figure that kind of stuff was happening everywhere. So, today we think, why things, we hear of some horrible crime and we think, what has become of us?
Right.
What is with people now? Oh, this terrible culture. Look what it does to people. I am telling you, it doesn't hold a candle to what was going on.
Right.
100 and some years ago.
Right.
So why do we let those statements go on? I mean, it's like
because we don't have a sense of history.
Yeah. Look that book up. I am not kidding you. I got to look that book up again. I used to have a copy. I think I lent it to somebody. And of course, a book like that never comes
Gets back. Right.
No, people abscond. But it was, you stop and think of, Wisconsin has a history of that. Like, the guy who was the Ed Gein. Does that name ring a bell?
Yes.
Ed Gein was a little milk toasty farmer in Wisconsin. And I don't know exactly what finally got the cops to come out to his barn. But in his barn, there were dead women hanging from hooks, eviscerated, skinned, this, that, blah, 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 including his mother, I believe. This was, the stories about Ed Gein were what prompted Psycho.
Oh, yeah. I think that's how I knew the name, actually. Yeah.
But so he was in jail when I was a reporter in Madison. Now, I'm not going to tell you that Ed Gein made a pass at me. But I did cover one of his...
So a serial killer had more manners than one of America's most legendary band leaders.
That's right. I covered one of his parole hearings, and he didn't put his hand on my leg.
Was that because it was shackled to his foot at the time?
Oh, God almighty. But I mean, that was like the creepy. He had made like lampshades out of some of the skin.
Man,
he had made pillows. He had robbed graves.
Yeah.
He hadn't necessarily killed anybody.
Okay, I see.
No, unbelievable. So,
well, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, the obvious parallel here that we haven't said anything about is this, of course, the Stubenville case, where there's an example of somehow social media became the story, and understandably so to some extent, because it does expand the circle of people and sort of document how callous we can be about each other. But, you see this, one of the defendants said, these photos shouldn't have, his apology, and I use the word in quotes, was, none of these photos should ever been taken. Like that was the problem.
Well,
rather than their actual thing that was being documented itself.
Act.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, it's just, and of course, so much of the media coverage too has been the same sort of thing, and this is not that complicated a case. A girl got drunk and was brutally taken advantage of over a long period of time, and I don't. It's not about Twitter.
I keep asking about this, and nobody ever answers it. In this case, and I haven't talked about this case. This case makes my head spin.
Yeah, you and I got in a big argument about it before.
I've gotten in arguments with everybody about it.
We got it 10 minutes is all I'm saying.
Okay. No. Okay. Here's the thing I don't get.
Right.
And I'm going away from the boys and the girls. Yeah. And I'm asking about the adults who opened their homes to these juveniles and allowed them to drink, which is against the law.
Right.
Allowed them to drink in excess, and then sent them on their way, I assume in cars, to drive drunkenly to the next house where an adult took them. Why aren't there charges levied against the owners of the homes in which these events took place? I don't understand that.
Were the parents home at the time? Is that the allegation?
Well, one was, because I know the first, he told him eventually to leave.
Yeah.
You don't have 10 teenagers in your house drinking and not know it.
Oh, I don't know. I can recall when I was in high school that happening.
No.
Jess can as well.
No. I don't get it.
I mean, apparently now, this thing is apparently not over because the
now
Attorney
we got
General
more
is
texting,
talking about,
and he wants to do. I think leave it alone, for God's sake. In the terms, in the annals of criminal history,
right?
It's not even a blip. I know you're going to get in a fight with me.
I am choosing not to.
Okay.
I mean, what standard is that? Then we should never charge anybody with aggravated assault because, hey, I didn't kill him, and in the infinite scheme of things, that bruise is going to heal. I mean, why charge for speeding? I didn't run anybody over.
Oh, I don't know. I just hate. I know a lot of this has to do with my absolute revulsion of sort of a faddish case. I mean, this is the case we all now are going to look at, and everybody.
It's going to feel superior to everybody who's involved. Yes, and all
of the young people in Stubenville who are enmeshed in this, who behaved abominably because, well, teenagers do that, but this went overboard. And we all stand around and call for their heads and to me, I hate being part of that crowd. And as soon as somebody puts on one of those friggin' Guy Fawkes masks, I'm out. I'm gone. Right. I'm on the other side. The minute you put one of those disgusting masks on, whatever you're standing for, I'm on the other side. I can't help it.
And I think it does. And this is the thing that maybe gets to something you were saying earlier, too, which is that are people really that much different now? I mean, the guy who we talked about before in previous episodes, the drunk guy who was like, she's so dead, blah, 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 and making jokes about it and all that stuff. I'm going to wager that in the history, we'll explain to people why I'm laughing as soon as I finish this point. Then in the history of teenage behavior, he's not the only person who has acted with a shocking and utter callousness towards other people's suffering and misery, but he's just of a generation whose fate it is that now everything they do can be documented and put online. And that part is, and I totally agree with you there.
And it's the magnification that it makes us lose our minds, kind of. And I hate being part of this kind of, it's like Salem witch trial shit. Excuse me. It's the same kind of,
I understand that part.
And the people getting off on being outraged.
Yeah,
I hate it. I hate it. And so if that makes me sound like I'm in favor of rape, I am really sorry. I'm not in favor of it. But I find the unseemly display amongst the self-righteous to be every bit as off-putting. I'm sorry. I feel assaulted by it.
Well, now, isn't that just you whining? You know, back in the 70s, they really knew what assault was like, I am told.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
Anyway, we should...
Okay, Jess, you got to put this on my Facebook page.
Okay.
PJ has photoshopped me dancing with...
And not just you, but you. This is an older photo of you, because I recognize that hairstyle from, I don't know, 1980-something, I think.
Yeah, but see, when I danced, when I was asked to dance with Lawrence Welk, I had...
You would have been lucky if his hands were placed where they are in this photo,
I look
from
like
what you're telling me, because he's got one on your shoulder.
Yeah, right. Oh, and does he have to Lynn from... No, that's actually just another one. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so very much,
Good work, PJ.
I will treasure that. We have a call. Hello.
Hello, Clarence from Canonsburg.
Clarence from Canonsburg. Hello there.
What's up, man?
I'm just calling to agree with you with the, outrage du jour.
Yes, thank you.
Being on Facebook, as for me, has really shown how much that is.
Yeah.
It always gets me, are people I know who grew up on welfare and food stamps, putting down people on welfare and food stamps.
Right.
It's like, get out there, get a job, work. Come on.
Yeah.
And that, for a while, that was like the outrage du jour.
Right.
Yeah.
But by the same token, we've probably always been doing that stuff too. It's just now we can all see each other, and you can sort of be part of a conversation that used to just be between two people sitting at a coffee shop counter. Now you can have relatives from Kankakee, Illinois, or wherever, all weighing in on the same on this same thing. So it looks like we're all much more judgmental than we were before because we see each other's judgments.
Yeah, but I remember people saying, "Oh, this will allow us, democracy will thrive because people will be able to have power." And yeah, fine. People have power because they can connect and interconnect. And let's remember the subject here. People. I'm sorry to say this. People don't necessarily do the right thing.
Right.
Human nature now is living large out there on the internet,
right.
and it is not pretty.
What it shows is how much people are sheep.
Yeah.
That's it. They just follow what's cool at the moment.
'Twas ever thus, though. I mean, every new technology has come along with the promise that it was going to elevate the human race. When radio came, it was going to be, this thing that da-da-da-da. When television came, it was going to be the classroom for the world and all this stuff. And, of course, and naturally, there are times when it lives up to the billing. But for the most part, we're all still just people. It just all these new technologies make it easier to be ourselves.
I have said, you know what? I got news for us all. We are essentially cavemen with smartphones. Right?
well said.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's it. We have not progressed as humans.
Right.
Humans we evolve at a snail's pace. The world around us, our technology, has run away with us.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, we are nothing more than knuckle-dragging cavemen with smartphones.
In some ways, we've gone
the
back.
iPhone is nothing more than a smoke signal.
Right. In some
You
ways,
know, the
we've gone
microwave is
backwards.
nothing more than a fire.
What?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Yeah, that's big time. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. In some ways,
I'm
we've gone
actually starting
backwards.
to
Try braining a mastodon with a smartphone. I mean, you can't do this. We're worse off than we were.
I'm actually starting to slack off on my Facebook stuff because I try to put up stuff to start intelligent conversations, and it never happens.
I'm freaked
no
out by
no
Facebook.
one wants to pick up on anything.
Yeah.
What you want to? I've seen your Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you kidding? You are trying to engage people in literate, intelligent conversation on Facebook.
You know what? I belong to a group. They call themselves the Political Freedom Fighters, and it started out really interesting. You know, conservatives debating with liberals, and then all of a sudden it turned into like conspiracy theory central.
Yeah.
I haven't stopped going on.
No, the loons take over. They ruin everything. And if you stop and think, even back to Stubenville, of how that case came to be, it came to be through anonymous bloggers and anonymous journalists. And I find, I don't care. And I know we had a fight about this. I just, nope. Yeah. Cavemen with smartphones. Get over ourselves.
If there's a T-shirt out there, I make $1 million off it. I'll throw you a phone because that's pretty funny.
Oh, do it. Let's do it then. Can we make money? Let's do it. Hey, Clarence, seriously, come up with a design. We'll have a few prototypes made.
Okay.
Somebody ought to make money off of this show. That's
All right.
Have
Thanks,
a nice day.
Bye, you two.
Bye.
You too?
That was a friggin' cheap shot.
I was just, no, it wasn't even, it was...
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. You yourself have...
I myself have made remarks.
Yeah.
Okay, well...
We nailed it.
I know, but we're having so much fun, and it's ending.
Yeah.
What are you going to do now?
Well, I'm going to go, and I'm going to go to the Ravenstahl press conference. I'll live tweet it if that makes you feel connected. Let people know using this powerful technology to inform the public.
And then you can go out and have a mastodon burger.
Exactly. Go out and stun a saber-toothed tiger. I used to make that sound, and you made fun of me for it. So.
No, but it happens on occasion where you snort. You can't if you're laughing too hard. Milk comes out of your nose, and you snort.
Speaking of laughing too hard, Tom Sokolowski tomorrow.
Indeedy, back from Sin City, where he spent 2 weeks.
Really?
And I did it all on my own. Who needs you? That's a problem, Tom, when you disappear like that, and I find out, who needs him? I do. I do, my Tom. You'll come back. Tom Sokolowski tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.